You know, Kenny Atkinson lost his job over the weekend. It was kind of weird, right? Like their number 7 spot in the East, which, granted, they're below 500. And I think it's reasonable to think they've been at least marginally disappointing this year. I don't know what you thought their ceiling would be without Kevin Durant all season and integrating Kyrie Irving to the team. There would be some high highs and some low lows, and Kyrie's been hurt a good portion of the season, and he's out for the rest of the year. But as the reports surface, it appears that Kevin Durant is as or most responsible for going to management, going to ownership, or simply going to his teammates and saying, this guy, not the guy, not good enough, not instilling a culture of winning. And of course, he coming from the Golden State Warriors. Tell us more, Kevin. I know what a winning NBA head coach looks like. That ain't one. Take my word for it. There is a lot of irony in Kevin Durant being kind of an ultimate decision maker, right? One, you would have thought if there was a coach killer in that room, it was Kyrie Irving, not Kevin Durant. Two, didn't Kevin Durant kind of push back at Steve Kerr and his coaching and has even said as much that he wasn't as down with Steve Kerr as others were? And three, here he is commenting about a coach who he's never actually played a game for. I can tell you this guy's not good enough. Have you actually? I haven't played one game. You haven't played one game with him. You don't know anything about playing for Kenny Atkinson. Well, I've watched. I've sat here and watched. This is the peanut gallery getting the voting rights to the life or death of the guy who's in the center of the ring or on center stage. You know, you always knew Kyrie would be a difficult one to win over. Kyrie has a reputation. But you almost feel like, you know, Kenny Atkinson on the way out the door can look at Kevin Durant and say, et tu, Brute? You as well? Really? Look, I don't know if Kenny Atkinson is good enough to be the head coach of the Nets. And you can take the word for it from players. You can't fool players. If you can't win over a locker room, and like here's the hard part in the NBA. In order to win over locker room, you have to win an NBA championship. In order to win a championship, you have to have won over locker room, right? It's the catch-22. But there is something to guys knowing this guy's got it, this guy doesn't. That's really kind of what Skip Bayless has touched on, which has started this conversation about the Niners and Jimmy Garoppolo. No one's saying Garoppolo stinks, but man, when you miss Emmanuel Sanders by like 7 yards, and that throw to Emmanuel Sanders, if it's short, it's pass interference. So you should either be short or at least hit him on the fingertips long. That's one of those, John Lynch has to be sitting up there in the box going, he doesn't have it. When the 49ers decide, or look like they were going to decide to take a knee, essentially take a knee before halftime. Much like the Jaguars did with Blake Bortles in the AFC Championship game 2 years before. It's Kyle Shanahan saying he doesn't have it. Guys that have it, of course you're going to let them throw. You're not worried about Pat Mahomes. You're thinking about scoring. Guys that have it, you just know they have it. There's the je ne sais quoi, the I don't know what, what does Colin call it? The it factor, right? You either have it or you don't. So I do understand and respect, like Kevin Durant's like, look, what are we doing? We're gonna finish out the season with a guy we don't really believe in. But the irony to a coach who pushed back on Billy Donovan because he wasn't Scott Brooks. He pushed back on Steve Kerr, even though he won 2 championships there. And he's pushing back on a coach who he hasn't actually played a game for, strikes me as at least mildly ironic. Then combine it with the fact that we all assume is Kyrie Irving, right? Oh, coach killer? Kyrie Irving. Had to be. Doesn't feel like a fun guy to coach. You combine that, and it's at least interesting, Joy, the news we're hearing out of Brooklyn.
Again, I didn't have any expectations for this team this year. So like you said, what did you think that their ceiling was? They don't have Kevin Durant. So this is just kind of a year right? Like their goal this year was to be stable, not be a disaster, obviously, but be stable and have the franchise in a good position going into next year to get Kevin Durant back, who was out of sight, out of mind. But 1A to LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, best player in the league. Like,
yes.
We forget who Kevin Durant is.
No, we don't. We wonder what he's going to be like when he comes back. But no. And look, to Kevin Durant and even Kyrie Irving's defense, almost every NBA star has done this, right? Like LeBron has done this. He tried to do it to Spoelstra. He did it to David Blatt. But LeBron's not alone. Magic Johnson, was it Paul Westhead was their first coach? Like he was not down there. It happened with Larry Bird, Your
star players have to buy into what you're doing.
Correct.
And feel comfortable with the direction that they're going. And if it feels dysfunctional, then people are not going to be comfortable. You're having to have team meetings to discuss what the plan is. That's not a good sign.
But there's also the other side to it, which is if Kevin Durant has an issue with Kenny Atkinson because he's not starting DeAndre Jordan because DeAndre Jordan's his guy, then you're like, really? That's, the coach is, you would hope, is going to do things which he believes are in the best interest of the team. And the other thought is, like, look, there's a chance that he's starting a younger player because he believes that by next year when they are competitive, you need the younger players to be further along than DeAndre Jordan, who is at the end of a career, not at the start of a career.
Well, I don't know what's going on in their locker room, but I would say from the outside looking in, when it gets to this point and there's this much tension, there's probably not a lot of great communication going on,
sure.
Right? Anytime these situations come to a head, when everyone steps away and the stories start coming out, it usually comes down to there wasn't really strong communication between the coach and the players or the front office, and one of those trifectas, something was broken. Because if that was the case, then that conversation should have happened with Kevin Durant. And if Kevin Durant really felt that strongly about it, then he would tell Atkinson, like, okay, but I don't agree with that. And moving into next year, what's the plan if he doesn't develop? Or just conversations generally solve most of these problems.
No question. When you stop talking, usually relationships stop. I agree with you.
And I'm not saying that's what happened or didn't happen.
No,
I don't know.
But it's a reasonable assume based upon.
But I'm assuming that's what happened.
Living on this earth for as long as you've lived on this earth, right? All relationships are, in fact, the same. I will put a period on this, though. I think we both agree. KD does strike me as a guy who seems to just not be all that happy. He's a really hard guy to please. By his own estimation, like he's still kind of searching for something. And do we care that, like, as much as, well, NBA stars have to buy in, like, who is he going to buy into? He doesn't seem to buy into anybody. Like, how many games did he have to win in Golden State before he buys into Steve Kerr? How many games did Billy Donovan have to win before he buys into, like, he kind of is unhappy unless he's happy unless he's not happy unless he's unhappy. And then he's unhappy, but happy that he's unhappy.
I mean, we know KD has a unique personality, and so does Kyrie, but they want to play together and they want to win a championship, and they both won championships.
Yes.
So, like, I'm gonna lean towards the star players and the star players that also both happen to have won championships. Like, their opinion matters to me.
It's a fair way to look at it.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.